Hey, Jimbo, you ready for this deal?
Cock your hammer, Cody.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, friends and neighbors. Time once again for the Cowboys of the Osage podcast with your host, Jimbo Snively and Cody Garnett. Now let's sing a little bit about it. Cowboys of the Osage, riding once again. Always got some time for a friend. And here they are, the Cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum and the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop, all located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here, and as always, I have my main man with me, songwriter extraordinaire and rodeo historian, Jimbo Snively. Morning, Jimbo. How you doing, and who are we talking to?
Hey, Cody boy, it's another great day in Osage. And Cody, we're going all the way down to Comanche, Oklahoma, talking to the great calf roper, Gary Ledford. Gary's a 9-time NFR calf roper. He won the NFR average, 1978. He won Cheyenne, set the arena record at Calgary. Just truly one of the great ropers there in the late 60s and 70s. And we're just really pleased to get to talk to him and hear what all he's got to say. Gary, welcome to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate all you guys do for rodeo.
Hey, well, we
bring some of us old timers back and hear lots of good stories.
You bet. That's what we were all about, the old timers and saving the old history. It's just
that sounds great.
It's just amazing how quick people forget the people that came before them, and stuff, and it just amazes me. But we're not going to let them forget them.
Yeah, that's great. I was talking to Jimbo just a minute ago. I said, now I know how you feel, Jimbo. You're always talking about this guy or that guy. Who's the old steer roper this one?
Well, I'm always bringing up Sonny Davis or Olin Young or something, And,
oh, yeah.
And then Cody's younger than I am, and he brings up Cody O,
Yeah, I said, I sure missed watching Cody O rope at the finals, what I was telling Jimbo. I said, now I know how you feel when you talk about all those guys.
Yeah, that's right. He was fun to watch.
Yeah. He was the funnest calf roper I ever watched at the finals, when it was on TV.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. He made things happen, made it exciting, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He didn't he didn't drop the ball very often either. I mean, that guy. This isn't about Cody O, but shoot, that guy was one of the best calf ropers, especially in that arena, any arena, really.
Yeah, that's true. He could do it all. It didn't matter what size of calves, he could do it all.
No, he could win Cheyenne and then turn right back around and go to the littlest rodeo arena in the country on little calves and beat you too.
Sonny Davis could make it fun to watch too, couldn't he, Gary?
Yes, sir, he did. Sonny Davis, he was a great guy. I kind of got acquainted with Sonny. He's kind of on his way out when I came in, and boy, he's just a great guy. One time I was having heck up there at the one-headers. I wasn't winning anything, and he just come loping up beside me on his old horse and slid his horse to me, and he looked at me and he said, Gary, the only guy that can beat you. And I said, no. He said, yourself, and just loped off. And it took a little while for that to soak in, but he was right. When you beat yourself, you can't win. And he just tried to help me. But me and him both tied a calf in 7-9 at Salt Lake City one year, and we split third and fourth back in the old days with some big old calves. It's the first year I think they went in a building at Salt Lake. But he could still do it, Sonny, at an older age.
Yeah.
How many of those things have you heard? The only person that can beat you is yourself. Slow down to be fast.
Yeah.
How much truth is in all that, Gary?
It's just unbelievable how truthful that is. You know, in my whole career, you know, I wanted to figure out a speed that I wouldn't mess up, and I stayed pretty consistent. You always go through some rough stages, but the whole deal is go to speed that you know you can do it 99% of the time. And back then, when we drew a good one, you know, the calves was a lot more uneven than they are today. And when we drew a good one, we had to win something, because it might be 2 weeks before you drew another good one. Very, very important. Slow down, be fast.
Yeah, now they do feel like, and I don't blame them. You know, on the cowboy side, they want just about every animal where you can place on them anymore, and that's pretty tough to do. That's pretty tough to do.
Well, yeah, you're exactly. It doesn't matter. You're never going to get them completely even, but you know, I'm gonna say in my day with the big old calves, like we roped 300, 325 pound calves, there probably wasn't over 30% of them you even had a chance on, and I think that's probably 70 or 80% today. You know, because they prepare those calves in shorter scores and things like that. But I just think they have more opportunities to win today than what we did, and that's the reason we had to be consistent when we do that good and not mess him up.
That's right. Where were you raised up at, Gary?
I was raised here, Comanche. Been here all my life.
Well, that's calf roping country down there, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You know, I rode it in high school, and I got out of high school, and I bought a horse called Rusty Tag. I trained this horse as a 2-year-old from a farmer over here, rancher, and him and the Burke family was good friends, and he had bought a little tag horse, and his name was Rusty Tag. And I quit working with that guy and went to work in LTV in Dallas, Grand Prairie, Texas. And this horse he called me and told me he's going to sell him. And boy, I wanted that horse so bad. And I get $3,500 for him, and he's the first horse he took me to national finals. But that horse, you know, $3,500 was just unbelievable back then.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money.
But I had to borrow the money at the bank, but we got him paid for, and 2 years later, I was NFR on him.
Yeah. Did you know? I guess you knew the Burks pretty good then.
Yes, and really about the time Barry Burke, you know, he knew I could rope. I didn't know I could, and he asked me. He said, "I'll mount you and enter you, or we'll take both of our horses." In 1969, we started in. He's either May or June that year. And he said, "I'll enter you on the halves, and you help me drive and all that." And that's how I got started. So I owe a lot to Barry Burke for helping me, showing me how to win, how to enter, and all that. But I made the finals in about 6 or 7 months that first year. That's the first year I rodeoed, the PRCA.
Talk about Barry Burke a little bit. I think he was runner-up for the world like 8 or 9 times, so he never did win the world.
You're right. He was runner-up 7 times.
Okay.
Barry, you know, was a great guy to me, and he you know, he encouraged you. He made you believe in yourself. It didn't matter what I drew. He'd say, "You can win around on this calf." I'll never forget at Castroville, Missouri, one time. They had a big old calf. They probably weighed 350, and he'd come back and said, "You can win around on this calf." And I said, "Really?" Boy, I said, he don't look very good. He said, "You can do her." Well, I was 40 on the calf. But he made me think I could win around on it. That dude, you know, I got him roping back on ground. But back then, you just hoped he'd draw one, it wouldn't kick. But yeah, he was an encourager and made you believe in yourself. Barry's a great guy to me.
Did you know Yeah. Did you know his dad and uncles or anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew Dee and Jiggs, and I didn't know Clyde. Of course, I was too young when Clyde got killed. But yeah, Jiggs lived here, and Dee, I knew all them real well.
What about their brother-in-laws, Amy Gamlin and Roy Lewis?
I just remember them talking about them. I didn't actually know them. Yeah. But now Clyde's son, Rusty, man, him was good friends. He went to school here. He's a couple years older than me, 2 or 3. But he roped some, but he never did take it serious.
Right. Yeah, it was quite a rodeo family. Cody Clyde was probably the ropingest one. I mean, he was like 3 or 4 time world champion calf roper, and he was killed.
Yeah,
he was killed. Denver. Hazing for Bill Hancock. He was killed.
Bill Hancock, really.
Yeah.
You know, that old arena over Denver, we went over there several times when I went to Denver, and just, you know, you just look at that and knew that's where Clyde got killed, that old arena. You just went across the highway, and that's where it was at.
Yeah. My grandfather was good friends with Clyde, and he really took it hard. And he was really mad. That steer ducked under those horses before, and they didn't take him out. They didn't take him out of the draw. And I remember my grandpa was really upset that they didn't.
Really?
That steer was even in the draw. But
golly, that's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
But I guess he was sure enough a good cowboy and a good horseman too.
Yeah, he was. He sure was.
And that's the thing about the Burks is Barry would hunt all over the country for the next best horse. He was always mounted good. In fact, the first year I went to finals in '69, I went and hit and rode his horse at the finals. And, my horse is still a little green. He was 7 years old. But I placed in 5 rounds on his horse and broke a barrier to win another round. And back then there was only 9 rounds, but I had a really, really good final, set the arena record. First year there, 9 flat on some calves weighing 3 to 350 pounds. But I rode a Wild Clyde, which is probably one of the better horses I've ever owned.
Who were some of the ropers that were there in '69, Gary?
Well, Dean Oliver, Ronnie Stewart, Junior Garrison. Phil didn't make it first year. Phil made it second year. Phil Line made it second year. Olin Young was there. I believe he was there that first year, and he was really tough. He just really consistent, and he still legged calves back then.
Yeah.
Olin did, and but it was Bob Ragsdale. Gosh, I'm trying to think of all of them who was there, but anyhow, there was only 9 rounds that first year. And I don't remember when it went to 10, but Ernie Taylor was there. Ernie wrote really well. I helped Ernie with his roping schools after he won the world there for about 4 or 5 years. And when he come up that horse called Scorpion, he just pretty well dominated that year.
I called Ernie last summer about doing a podcast, and he said, "Oh yeah, I want to do one for sure." He said, "I'm having some health trouble and my voice isn't the best, but just as soon as I get feeling a little better, my voice gets better, I'm going to call you and we're going to do a podcast." And of course, that just never did.
Never got to.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, he was dominating that year. It's just amazing, when that horse come along. He was just amazing to watch. He borrowed that horse. It was trying him out at the finals the year before, I guess in '72, and he won the last 3 rounds on that horse. And I think they priced him at $5,000, if I remember the story right, Ernie telling me. And once he won in 3 rounds, they went up to $10,000 on that horse, which is unbelievable back then. But Ernie went ahead and bought him. He was a little hot, but he went ahead and bought him. But that's what made him the world's champion. And that tells you how important a horse is, because Ernie, he was just, a top 15 roper. He got that horse, and it made him the world's champion.
Right. What made
that horse? He was only good for 1 year. The horse got really quick.
Uh-huh.
That horse, Ernie hazed on that horse to keep him free that year. He won the world on him.
Mm.
Wow.
Well, how do they keep them horses freed up out there at Vegas as quick as that all happens out there in that little old pen?
You know what? I think they have a practice pen they can go run some in, because, like you said, when you rope that many that quick, and you can see them horses kind of backing off towards the end, or a lot of them. Even Riley Webb's horse backed off from running, the last few nights to me, and wasn't pulling quite as good. And started out really super strong the first 5 rounds, and kind of backed off the last 5. But it's hard when you take that many quick throws, and nearly everybody reaches a little today too, where we didn't.
Right.
And that really makes them horses back off.
Right. You mentioned Dean Oliver. What made him so tough, Gary?
I'll tell you what, he was my hero. Dean Oliver was when I was growing up, and of course, we just got them old sports newses and read them. But Dean Oliver, he was so consistent and so strong. Me and Barry and Danny Reinhardt, we rodeoed together that year, the first year we went, and we got to go by Dean's house. And then that's a big deal to me to go to Dean Oliver's house, because he's my hero all them years as a kid. But what made him tough, he could just handle the big calves, and Dean just did not mess up. Well, if he had a good one, he used him.
He was so athletic. He was so athletic, wasn't he?
He was so athletic, and they said it didn't matter what he done, if it's golf, bowling, or anything, that he was good at it. They said he could bowl 200 every game, and of course he beat a lot of the pro golfers, later on in life. But,
he was a scratch golfer.
What was his nickname, Jimbo?
The Wope.
The Wope.
Yeah.
The Wope. Yeah, the Wope. But, it's just amazing. I finally got to meet that guy, and anyhow, I think the year I won Calgary, he was runner-up, and I kidded him about that when that time was at his house. And but anyhow, we had a good time. But I won't ever forget that. Get to spend a night with your hero.
Right, for sure.
What do you think about Calgary now? That the calves, they ain't got to stay tied at all, do they? You got to get back on your horse, maybe.
Just get back on your horse, yeah, or maybe just 3 steps. You know, it's changed so much. When I set the arena record, it's still 30-foot start, and her mama's with the back end, which has never been tied. And I tied a calf in 12.9, and that was the arena record. And people laugh at that. They tie 2 in that now. But it just changed. Of course, everybody wants to see the speed, but we had to have really, really good horses to win back then. You know, and of course, there wasn't no jerk down. There was up there. There's a jerk down rule there. You couldn't just jerk them down all 4 feet up the ground, or they'd flag. In fact, I got flagged out for the go around a year or 2 later.
They had a jerk down rule up there even when my grandpa was roping up there in the 40s.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, they sure did, and it's kind of left up. They're pretty well going to flag somebody out. You know, not every day, but they're going. You know, if it's even close, they're going to flag you out. And I think about in '73, somewhere along in there, that I wanted to go around, and my wife and a little boy went with me up there, and I jerked that calf down to win the round. But anyhow, that's just part of it. But I know they got to protect animals anymore. But today, you know, calves are so small, you can just hold it and turn them around. In fact, if you don't, you're not going to win very much. They
don't even have a score up there hardly at Calgary now. I don't know what it is.
No.
It looks like 6 or 8 feet to me.
Yeah, I don't. It's nearly impossible to break the barrier if a calf it just comes at all. It's just changed so much. All of them have, you know, like Cheyenne, they tie the calves, and when we was going Cheyenne, it was all fresh at the mamas or at the back end, and you didn't tie anything. But all that's changed, you know, and it's probably easier on the livestock, and you know, I can see why they probably did do something. And then they, you know, they get the whistle after 25 seconds now. There wasn't no whistle when I started. You just stayed there till you got him tied, and that don't look good to the crowd. You know, I can see their point because you choke horse. You got horse comes to choking the calves. But anyhow, it's sure different from what it was when I started.
What was it like winning Cheyenne? That had to be a thrill.
You know, it was. You know, Toots Mansfield, you know, and he's one of the great ropers back in there. I was at Big Springs, and that's kind of where he lived down in there. And I hadn't hardly won nothing that year, that spring. And I think I won the last round at Big Springs, and he rode up to me. I don't remember whether he was flagging or why he rode up to me, but he said, you know, I know you've been having heck. He said, you'll probably win Cheyenne this year, and I did. And I won't ever forget that. So, that was more money than I'd ever seen in my life. I like $13 winning $5,000, and that was, you know, that back then he'd buy 2 new pickups. So
yeah.
And you can win Cheyenne today, and can you make a down payment on one? So it really hadn't got any better. In fact, it's not as good as it was when I was going.
No, some ropings I don't think are as good as they used to be as far as money, because they split it up so much. More people can get a check, you know, the way they have it set up, but the guy that wins it sure doesn't win as much in some of them.
Yeah, now I think they get a check in every performance, you know, who wins that performance when they're only going against, you know, a handful of guys. And there's a lot more. It's a lot more split up at Cheyenne now than it was just a few years ago. Actually, they've made all these changes just in the last handful of years. Back the barrier off, pre-tying the calves, you know, a few things.
Oh yeah, it's just changed so much, you know, and you know you can just count the number of times you won a performance back when I was roping and you didn't get anything.
Right.
You know, and it'd have been nice back then just to won something, just kind of get your fees back. But you know what people don't realize, when I started there in '69, the one headers was $15, and if they added over 1,000, that's 25. And the biggest 2 header they had was like Denver and San Antonio, Houston, Cheyenne. They was $100, and most of the 2 headers were 2 for $50. And that's the reason, you know, you just couldn't put much money together, but it went so much further than what it does today.
Oh yeah, for sure. What made you go Go ahead.
You know, it's just like the first year I went to finals. After the finals over, I bought a new pickup for $2,600. And can you put tires on it hardly for that anymore?
No. I know, it's just crazy. What made you want to start roping, Gary? Was it just because of the country you raised up in down there, all them calf ropers, or what got you interested in roping?
I had a brother named Roger that he got the goat roping when he was probably in his late teens or maybe early 20s, and he bought two little kids. They had a little store north of our house about 4 miles, and they kind of had a little roping on Sunday, and they started roping goats. And he wound up buying a couple of Hereford calves and went to calf roping, and that on, he got me hooked, and he hauled me to some of the junior high rodeos and things like that, and he'd mount me and enter me. He had no horses, pretty solid, and he'd take me to them high school rodeos and mount me and enter me, and a lot of them little jackpots, and that's how I got started. And nobody really ever helped me. I just figured a lot of this stuff out on my own, the flanking and tying and consistency. But he was really, really consistent himself, Roger was. And he had a card, but he wasn't big enough to handle them, like I was back then. He was smaller than I was, but really, really, as far as roping consistent, he really, really was consistent. And he'd usually go back east and rodeo in the summer with like Zane Tibbetts and guys like that, and making a little money and come home, make a winner,
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to be mounted pretty good, and you got to be pretty sharp with your rope to rope a goat.
Oh yeah,
God dang, they can zig and zag and do things that aren't even possible trying to get away from you.
You're exactly right. I never did rope a goat on a horse. Me and my brother, this younger than him, we'd tie him while he was gone. While he was at work, we'd go out there and tie his goats. He didn't know it, but we did. But no, that's a different deal, that goat roping.
I went to San Angelo. The big roping down there, before all the big roping got started, they used to have a goat roping, Jimbo, where they'd rope off a horse. And I tell you what, those boogers were mounted good. Because I wasn't riding anything that could keep up with a goat. Could track one for sure.
Yeah. It's a little different now, but I knew they had that big goat roping. I never did stay and watch it, but they had a big goat roping down there, didn't they? San Angelo.
My grandpa didn't like rope goats on a horse. He said it'd make them do too much of the ducking,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you, them's got some cow and I'm a little hard to ride them on them goats, isn't it?
Yeah. But who'd you travel with the most, Gary?
I'll tell you what, I had Barry Burton, Danny Reinhardt the first year, and then rodeo with Tudor Waits a couple summers, Greg Wenham a couple summers, and Richard Stowers, and Buddy Jeter one summer, and then kind of towards the end, Paul Duncan and myself rodeoed. And after I won a commissioner's job, where I still rodeoed till I was, I still won a lot up till I was, 51 or 2 years old. I had a really good mare at that time, and I won placed at a lot of buildings for several years in the late 40s. And but I rodeoed with a guy called Connie Burton. We'd rodeo. He was just a friend of mine. That he rodeoed some, rope really good. He placed at Cheyenne 2 or 3 times, and we'd take off on Friday after work and go down to Texas. We'd go to Mesquite and then maybe make 1 or 2 down there and come home. And then we'd usually go to Cheyenne together and stuff. But all my traveling partners was really good people to rodeo with, and that made a lot of difference. We always had a good time.
We did a podcast with Tudor Waits. You remember Cody?
Oh yeah,
he sounded like a pretty good character. Like he'd be a lot of fun.
Well, Danny Reinhardt, he's a good fella too. Barrel horse trainer now, but heck of a good guy.
Oh, I'll tell you what, me and him, when we was rodeoing with Barry that year, in fact, me and him rodeoed the second year together for a good while. And Danny, he'd drive. I'd wake him up. Our deal was by each other. We'd drive a tank of gas, and we filled up. We'd wake some guy up. And it's just hard to get old Danny up, but he'd never turn me down. When I would wake him up, he'd go. But he is a great guy, Danny Reinhardt is.
Didn't they train weren't they Martha Josie's right-hand man, Danny and his wife?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. Yep.
So, all the big barrel racing clinics and stuff you've heard about Martha Josie and stuff.
Sure.
Well, Danny and his wife did a lot of the training, and they still go around doing
Do they?
I think so. I think they still go around doing clinics for barrel racers, and you couldn't meet a couple finer people than the Reinhardts.
No, you can't. And actually, Danny roped really good. He just wasn't big enough to handle the calves. If he's going today, he'd win a lot. But golly, he wasn't very big, and trying to rope in 300 pounders, it just didn't work very good.
I knew him as a steer roper, and he roped steers pretty good too.
Did he? He did. He just roped real good. Danny did. He sure did, and like I said, a great guy.
Did you ever do any flying?
Well, just once in a while we would. I didn't fly very much. From Clem McSpadden's roping one time we flew to Dallas, and there'd be, I flew to the Cheyenne a couple times when I was commissioner and rode some other people's horses. But no, I didn't do much flying. Pretty well took my horse most everywhere I went.
Yeah. Did you always ride? You always ride your own horses, Gary?
Yes, I did. Once in a while we'd go somewhere and borrow a horse, but most of the time I had my horse with me.
You were known as a good horse trainer. Where'd that come from? Did you just learn that on your own, or did somebody help you with your horse?
The horse I had to make my own. I couldn't afford to buy him, and this horse I give $3,500 for. I started him when he was a 2-year-old for this farmer that I worked for in high school, and we made that horse, and I wound up buying him, and then I bought a horse called Thumper that I won a Copenhagen Scold on, and he was probably a solid horse, but he was only 5. I had to finish him. And then the next great horse I had was called Classy Anchor, which was out of about part thoroughbred, and he was 6 years old when I won NFR on him. But I bought that horse at Fort Worth Horse Sale when I was at the rodeo down there. He was a 3-year-old. And that fall, this horse, I'll tell you how smart and how quick he was. I won third on him at Mesquite during the rodeo when he was 3 years old. It didn't take, a month to train that horse. He just won him naturals. And he may be the best horse I ever got on.
You don't hear too many guys hauling a 3-year-old to a roping.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. But I went ahead and I didn't haul him a lot. I still had that horse called Thumper, but he got crippled when I roped Roy at the Copenhagen Scold roping. I crippled old Thumper, and I had to wind up riding this horse called Classy. And boy, I'll tell you what, he just made roping easy. He could really run, really score good, and really would pull. And if you want to jerk one down, you could wave slack. If you want to turn one around, you could kind of hold it like they do today. But I won lots of money for no longer than I rode him. And when I won the commissioner deal, Junior Garrison called me and asked me if I'd sell him. I said, "Oh, no, I don't want to sell him." He said, "You'd price him, wouldn't you?" I said, "Well, I'd price anything I got." And he said, "What do you take?" I said, 10,000. He said, "I'll take him." Didn't even come trying. And I really didn't want to sell him.
Cowboys are the world worst. I mean, if someone asks them to price something, they feel almost obligated to throw a price on there. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen my dad sell us a foot, sell our good horse just because, that's what he did. That's how he supplemented part of his living is, every now and then he'd sell one. But
yeah. Well, $10,000 more than I'd ever seen, but I regretted that from the time I sold that dude because he was but 6, or I guess he's 7 when I sold him. I rode him at Cheyenne the next year after I won a commissioner deal. I won $8,700 at Cheyenne on him, and I didn't turn around and sell him for $10,000. Wasn't very smart.
My dad, we used to own that. Did you ever know the steer roping horse that T. Woman rode for so long? Dutch, he's a buckskin horse, real good looking booger.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. Yeah.
Well, my dad, he made the finals on him a few times before we sold him to T, and we got $15,000 for him, and we really thought that we'd done something. And my dad, he had bought this $15,000 stall barn in place of Dutch when we got it. And
okay.
We kept horses in there one winter and decided we didn't like cleaning stalls, and that thing just became a storage shed after that.
Oh man, that wasn't a good deal then, was it?
No. Most people, when they sell a horse like that, they probably end up regretting it at the end of the day. Yeah,
you do. And I really didn't. But when I tell somebody something, I wouldn't back out. And Junior did when he come pick him up. He said, "Now, if you want to back out, you can." I said, "No, I'll let you go ahead and have him." But I did regret it. But he took that horse to Canada and put him on them sales. He brought $26,500, the highest roping horse it ever sold.
Wow!
I had this little old Welch mare that you could rope on, pretty nice horse. And I was at somewhere, and I was riding by, and they said, "Boy, what do you take for that little mare?" And I said, $500. And I really thought I'd done something. And I said, "I believe I'll just take him." And my dad walked over there and he said, "Did you price that horse to that guy?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, get off of her. You got to sell her to him." So I learned a hard lesson when I was a kid.
I guarantee you, some kind of guy needs to keep his mouth shut, doesn't he?
Yeah, I haven't learned that yet, Gary, but
he's still working on it.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all the same boat there.
I still have a bad problem with price and stuff. And listen to this crap. One year we have some retail stores here in town, and I had a pawn shop at one time here, and it was the dead of summer in August, and we had a little old single wide trailer house outside of town. Someone came in looking for an air conditioner. I said, "Well, I got one of those. It's in the window in my bedroom at the house. Let me go get it for you real quick."
Right in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I sold it to him for $60, I think, and I was sure proud of myself for some reason.
But Lauren was proud of you too.
One other time, Pendleton Blanket, they put out this special Pendleton blanket that with a steer roper on it, Jimbo. And my wife's great aunt got it for us after we had a baby. Mm-hmm. And one time we were sitting around the house wondering why we even keep these Pendleton blankets. You know, they're dumb. We got to keep them in a chest and this and that. And someone came in the store one day looking for this specific Pendleton blanket. And I said, "I know where one of those are." And so I went home, got it out of the cedar chest, and sold it, I think, for $100. So I still haven't lived down the air conditioner or the baby blanket.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, you had to go buy another air conditioner. It cost a whole lot more money, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. It was bad moves all the way around.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Sometimes it's better to stay quiet, isn't it?
Well, like I said, Gary, I got a problem with price and stuff, which I've learned to not do that as bad anymore.
You're right there now. It's hard to replace. It costs so much more to replace anything now.
Yeah.
You know, I had a single axle trailer one time in a really nice, a new 74 Chevy pickup. Charlie Battles come by and said, "What do you take for that truck and trailer?" I popped off, said, "I'll take $4,000. Well, good night. I way underpriced that thing. So he just bought it. And it cost me about $6,500, $7,500 to get back in the business.
One time I was broke, entered in Cheyenne. I didn't have any money. You know, I was making the finals, but I didn't have any money to keep going. And I had this little short shot. It was like an inline, but a one-horse inline. And I was pulling it with my wife's car around to rodeos. And I said, "Well, crap, I got to sell this trailer to go to Cheyenne, sweetie." So I put it up for sale for $1,000. Well, I think I wanted $1,200. And this guy came up and asked, "You take $1,000 for it?" And I said, "Yeah, I could use the money. I'll take $1,000 for it." And he came back the next day to pay me. He gave me $300 and paid me the rest out. I said,
"Oh, is that right?"
But I needed that $300 so bad I took it.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand. Sometimes we get in the bad, we got to do what we got to do, hadn't we?
Yeah, I don't think my dad or my either one. I think we may have one trophy saddle left that we won through the years. You know, all the rest of them we had to sell to keep rodeoing. Really,
keep rodeoing. I understand.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they don't mean as much now anyhow. So get rid of them.
Yeah. Yes, sir. We sold some pretty good ones, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you did. That's for sure. But anyhow,
anything to keep rodeoing, though.
Yeah, keep.
But yeah, I guarantee you that's for sure.
I think it's worse than any drug on the market.
Yeah, I think it is
never
too.
Should have sold, and
yeah.
That was just me anyway.
Gary,
Oh yeah.
Gary, you mentioned that Copenhagen skull roping. Tell us all about that and the big lick you hit down there.
Okay. Well, the first night out of all the 16 guys that roped, I had the fastest time, and out of them. And then when me and Roy roped, we made it back. In fact, me and Jeff Copenhagen, we tied on 6 head, and we had to have 2 calf tie off. And I was riding this horse called Thumper that I was telling you about that I bought and had to finish out. And he was just so solid. He's the same every time. You know, everybody thinks he's the best horse I ever had, but he's probably the 3rd or 4th best horse I ever had. But he was just so solid. But anyhow, when we got to the finals, Roy come back there, and me and Roy's pretty good buddies. And he said, "Let's put him on the show." And I said, I was tickled to death because I knew I had 6,001 per second, and I never thought about beating Roy Cooper. You know, that was his debut. He'd won everything you could win, and we back in there, and I was 9 on my first 3. I was quite a bit ahead, and Roy had a calf that he went 12 on, and I had him for my last calf, and I run him about 3/4 away down there, and this calf would sure try to run over you and get around you, and I tied that calf in 8-7, probably the best run I ever made in my life. and Roy comes out and ties 1 in 7. I beat him 1/10 of a second. And everybody says it's probably the greatest match I'd ever seen. But it hit me so much. I come home and I owed for some little roping calves I bought. I had about 50 roping calves. I paid them off, went to the bank, told them I wanted to build a new house with what I'd won, and I just paid for the calves and let the calves pay for the house, and they done it. And that's how I got the house I'm living in right now. But it probably done more for me, that $15,000, than anything that ever happened to me in my life, as far as money wise. And that was the most money that ever been won at a rodeo at one time. They said at that time.
At a rodeo or just calf roping? Because I'm going to use it for a trivia question.
Okay, well, they told me it's the most anybody ever won at a rodeo. And I don't know what it meant, one event or what, but it's the most money they ever won at one time. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm going to use that tonight.
And, okay, that's good.
So what's for?
Me and Roy roped another match. We roped 4 matches, and I only beat him one time. But the second time we roped here at Comanche at the Clyde Burke Memorial. And I don't remember. We was talking, I think, last year, and he said he had to be 13 to beat me, and he tied a calf in 11. And then we matched at Pampa, Texas. Everybody wanted us to rope again, and both of us missed a calf, and I saved my very best calf, I thought, to last. And I tied a calf. I figured I'd tie him in 8 or 9, and they're big old calves. And this calf just went to kicking, and I was 14 on him, and Roy beat me 1/10 there. So we had some really good match ropings, me and Roy did. I love to rope those match ropings, with the horses I had. And I rode that young horse at that roping. He probably wasn't but 4 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm.
The horse I won average at the finals on.
Where did they where'd they hold that Copenhagen skull roping at, Gary?
They had it at Northside, there in Fort Worth.
Okay, it was in
that little bitty building.
Now, was that just a standalone calf roping, or what was the format?
Yeah, it was. It is strictly a calf roping when it started, and what they done later on, they brought some riding events in it, and it never did go over after that. I think they done that about 2 years, and I guess it just kind of ruined it. But it was strictly calf roping starting on. Okay. Dean Oliver and all them there the year I won it, the top 16. They had the top 15 in the high school, the college champion, which was Mike McLaughlin at that time.
Wow.
But anyhow, my son had talked to Dean Oliver several times, and he told my son, he said, if your dad would ever left Oklahoma, he could have been world champion. But, I didn't rodeo hard like most people. I'd rodeo hard in July and August, and the rest of the time I rodeoed from home. And about 30 rodeos a year would be Mesquite, Texas. But I thought that was a pretty good compliment coming from Dean Oliver.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Your son made the finals, too, didn't he, Morris?
Yeah, he made them in 91, He made them in 91. He got pneumonia when he was out there, and he didn't win anything. And in that good mare we had, he had made the finals on and got crippled. He didn't get to ride her. He had a terrible finals. Then he got married after that and never did make it back. But he was probably tough on the ground as anybody. He didn't start till he was about 19 or 20, and he got really tough quick. He was serious about it. I come home one day, he'd been working in an oil field, and he had all my horses saddled, and I said, what's the deal? He said, I want to start roping again. I said, let's go. And boy, from that time on, and that 2 or 3 years, he was winning a lot of money. He won several saddles and stuff, and then made the national finals in 91. But he got sick out there and felt terrible, and didn't really have anything to ride good out there anyhow. But he was a little bit different than I was. When I could tie calves, and I tried to tie calves from 4.9 to 5.2 from the post, just to know the speed I could go without messing up, and he could beat me. He tied calves in 4.6 and 4.7 down the post. Mm-hmm. I flanked a little bit different than him. He flanked a little quicker than I did, but I'd roll everything just a little bit more because we roped such big calves. But he was really, really tough on the ground. He just started late in life, didn't ride a horse probably good as he should have, or he could have done about anything he wanted to.
Yeah. Did you, when you started roping, were you still legging any calves, or did you always flank them all?
I pretty well flanked. I tell you, when I got in high school, I flanked. When I first started in high school, we all legged. And but when I started, and I'll tell you another thing. You talking about that? I got off left nearly my whole career, and that wasn't good, you know. And I was taught to keep them horses straight and working good and ducking under. Probably Gary Johnson, myself, and Dean Oliver's the best guys ducking under the rope that probably ever was. That's what most people say.
I saw an old, right. I saw an old 8mm film from Cheyenne here on Facebook or something here a few months back, and it's from the late '60s, and it didn't even give any names hardly, but I recognized a few, and it was the calf roping, and here come this tall athletic guy wearing these khaki colored pants, about 6'4", and he went under that rope. I know it's Dean Oliver. And
oh yeah, I bet it was.
He went under that rope just like a blur. I mean, he got off, and before I knew it, he was under the rope, going down the rope. I never seen anything like it. That's just how athletic he was.
He was. He is an athlete, and I mean, you know, the thing that then we had jerk those calves down, and I was there waiting on him to get up anyhow. So the ride didn't quite as much, but later on, after I actually quit rodeoing full time, I started getting off ride this younger horse, you know, and all the horses after that. It just made roping so much easier to get off the right, and I wasn't smart enough to know that. Nobody was going to tell me because it made me tougher, you know.
Right.
But I wish I'd got right starting out.
Right. Oh yeah.
That Barry, he got off the ride of this horse that we rode at the finals, and he knew I'd run them horses in there and get off the left, and that really kept them straight for him.
Right.
And I got to keep them. He let me have that horse a week before the finals and just get him ready for me because he knew, you know, I could have. I think I was a pretty good horse trainer because I made most of them myself, you know, and Barry knew that. But yeah, that getting off right is just a way better deal. You never lose sight of the calf where there's a little blind spot ducking under, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you see a big? Go ahead.
And it's quicker too, you know.
Well, yeah, sure, quicker. Dean Oliver one time, Don McLaughlin, he used to leg all. He was probably the best legger there ever was, and
no doubt about it. And probably tied to anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Dean told him one time, said, "Don, why you leg him calves? It's 2 seconds slower." And Don said, "Okay, let's just have a match roping. You give me 2 seconds every calf, and we'll just have a match." "Oh no, I ain't gonna do that."
I bet that's right. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what, that Don could get him on the ground, but his horses really had to pull to do that, and boy, he legged really well and really tied good. Right. He sure did. I bet Dean was smarter than that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was too smart for that. He wasn't going to fall in that trap.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh, man.
Hey, Gary, when you're running a calf down, running right in the middle of one, we got a lot of young people listening to this. Where do you aim on that calf's body to rope him around the neck?
Okay. I taught, I built the indoor arena when I retired from my commissioner job, and I give calf roping lessons till a year ago last August. It got hot as losing so many calves, and I taught kids for 20 years. And, you know, so many people say, look at the right ear, do this, do that. And I teach rope the shoulder. And if the calf goes right or left, either way, you ain't going to miss him. And that's the highest percentage of catch you can do is just rope the shoulder. And your palm full extension with your arm and palm flat, and you ain't gonna miss many calves unless something happens, you know. But I always try to rope shoulder.
Well, I appreciate that, Gary. I asked quite a few guys that, and you know that's what I teach my girls at the house is to aim for that shoulder because I thought that's where you're supposed to aim. And I've heard a few guys tell me a few different things, but that's good. That's good to hear from a guy that ropes.
Well, if you aim at anything else. If a calf moves his head, anything, and you'll see a lot of people rope out in front of them, but if you rope that shoulder, your percentage of catching is way, way greater than any other way.
Yeah, I was going to bring up your helping those kids. How many years did you do that, Gary?
I've done it 20 years.
20 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Who's some of the students came out of your school?
I'll tell you what. There's a kid named Garrett Elmore that he made. He is in. I don't know where he wound up in rookie, but I think he won the IRA the last 2 years, and then he got his card this year, and he won quite a bit at Denver. This kid's really talented, and I've had several kids I thought could make the finals, but never did pursue it. But there'll be a kid coming up called Tate Jordan. He's 18, and he's going to Denver this week. But this is a roping little guy. He lives over here at Dean, Texas, and he come for probably 6 years. I think he started his 9 and he's 18. I quit a year ago. So, yeah, he come about 6 or 7 years, but he can really, really do it. And in fact, Tough Cooper rode his horse at the finals last year. One of his horses, Jeff Jordan. That's his dad. But this kid, he's got all the talent it takes to make them that far.
Do you see a big difference in the horses today, Gary? What's the biggest difference in the horses today from when you roped?
You know, we probably rode bigger, stouter horses, and because we rode bigger calves to get them jerked down, you know. And they went to smaller horses, you know, and I think they had more horse problems now, soreness and stuff, probably than we did. And I've never understood that because the horses we rode, you know, we had them old side-by-side trailers, and how they stayed healthy, I don't know. But we didn't hardly ever have any sore horses back when I was rodeoing, and we rode 300, 350-pound calves. And today they just have all kinds of problems. And it may be, I don't know what the answer is, or why they start them too young or what they do, but it costs more to keep a horse going now than what I give for a lot of horses.
You know, you think it might be a lot of these guys, they get these horses, they break them, they take them straight to the arena. They never did any outside work on them or anything, so they don't really know how to protect themselves. What do you think about that, Gary?
You know, I think you may be right. And there's a vet down here at Marietta, Oklahoma, and I talked to him about that. And he says most of the people are putting too much weight on these horses young and don't let their bone structure get correct, or knees fill in and all that. And he just thinks they put too much weight on them too young. And most of the time, there's probably 3 before they rode many of them horses back in the older days, is what he thinks.
You know, you see a lot of knee and hock problems with horses nowadays.
Lots of knee and hock problems, and we didn't have none of that when I was rodeoing. And this last, I had a really good mare that was a doctor prescription that I rode towards the end of my career. After I quit rodeoing, she's probably one of the better horses I had too. But I had to inject her hocks, and I mean, it's different from daylight and dark when you do, but what actually caused it, I do not know. But I think a lot of it, they call it line breeding, and it's actually inbreeding, in my opinion, and that may be what some of the problems is. Because nearly everything you've seen for a while is double bred this and double bred that, you know. And what that has in it.
The steer horses too, Cody. I think the steer horses used to last longer.
Well, it used to take an extreme long amount of time to make a steer horse, Jimbo.
Right.
You know, you really brought them on slow. Now it's not that way. You know, they find a horse they can rope on, and they start tying steers down on. There's a lot of shortcuts you can do, which in turn makes them not last as long. It just seems like they're just not lasting as long. You used to see a lot. Well, you used to be able to go buy 16, 18-year-old horse, you know, go learn to rope or haul him a little bit with a little maintenance, and you don't even see those horses around anymore.
Yeah.
No, you don't. No, you sure don't.
What do you like about roping? You think you'd like to rope out there in that little arena in Las Vegas, Gary?
Yeah, you know, I think I could probably rope in any situation. I'd love to have tried it one time, but my last year was up here at Oklahoma City, and they still scored the calves 12 feet then, you know. And but yeah, I think that kind of money, it'd have to be exciting when you can win that kind of money.
Oh yeah.
And what I like about it, there's so many chances. You know, there may be 1 or 2 calves a night that you could place on, but most of the time, like I said, you take 2 or 3 calves out of each night, and you got a chance to win a check. And we didn't have that opportunity when I was going. You know, one time at the NFR, we was all going to go on strike. Somebody come around and said they wouldn't ever let us tie the calves. And we thought, well, sure, even them up, they just let us tie the calves. And everybody said they'd do it, but Barry Burke and Bob Ragsdale, so we all had to rope because they wouldn't stay together on it. But, you know, if they had just tied the calves, even when I was going, it would have made it a lot evener.
Yeah.
But they just wouldn't let us do it at that time.
It sure is hard to get a bunch of free-thinking cowboys to get on the same page, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Everybody got their own opinion.
Well, some guys might think that they'll have a better chance of winning if we rope these calves fresh instead of tying them, and you know, there's all kinds of thoughts out there.
They are. And fresh calves, anybody can win. You can have a guy that you're maybe 5 seconds better as, and he draws good, and he's going to beat you on them old kickers like we run.
I don't know if it's the same in the calf roping or the steer roping, but I assume it is. On a fresh steer, if you strung them and you kept those legs as low as you could, I never had too much trouble tying a fresh steer. I don't know if it's the same with the calf. Do you try to keep them their legs pretty low?
Yeah, no doubt about it. When we rope those freshies, you want to keep their legs really low and try to get your wrap. And a lot of times we'd go in what they call a 2-hand tie. It's where they couldn't kick loose, because a lot of times you'd get a wrap and they'd kick plumb loose, but we'd grab her string each time we went around after the first wrap and keep them from kicking loose. And Roy Cooper's probably the greatest at keeping them lower than anybody I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, me too.
His long arm, reach out there and scoop them up and get that short wrap on them, be done.
Yeah. I know
there's something I don't like.
Go ahead.
No,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's one thing that I think they're kind of defeating themselves, and if you watch some of these guys are getting down on their knee now, and if you look at Tough Cooper, which when he don't get on his knee, he's still tough as anybody tied. But you watch that at the finals this year and for several years, and good as that boy ropes, why he gets on the knee, because it's costing him 5/10 every time. And I never taught get on your knee on anything. You squeeze with your legs and hold with your left hand until you go for your hood. There's 2 or 3 pressure points when you're tying, and there's some guys just don't do it. And you see guys turning loose, trying to get around the hood, and then the legs drop down. It's because they didn't hold the string with their left hand when they're trying to tie. But they're just I don't know whether it's going so fast they can't think, but they're just that getting on your knee, I think, is costing them guys a lot of times. And if a horse pulls or if a calf kicks, you're out of position. You can't do anything anyhow.
You mentioned that 2-hand tie there a while ago. Fred Whitfield used to do that a lot. Even tied a lot of fast calves with using that left hand.
He did, and Cody O did.
You wouldn't notice it until you watched it in slow motion, because they were so fast at it.
You're exactly right. Cody O tied a lot of calves 7 2-hand tying them.
Yeah.
But he got them roped quick and back on the ground. Cody was, he got out, he just had to start figuring out a way before anybody else, in my opinion, did out there at NFR. And he could just slow down and be 7. And that's all you got to do, is not beat yourself. And I'd rather be 2-5 on a calf all day long than I had try to blitz one, be 2-1 or 2 on him. And if you string, you lose more money. If you string, you do win.
Yeah, me and Cody was just talking in an earlier podcast. It seems like those guys just fumble a lot out there,
They do. They beat themselves so much. I get talking to TV. My wife gets mad, and I hate seeing anybody mess up. I'll go talking to them on TV when they do it.
Right.
But, why give it up? You got it won. That string, all you got to do is finish.
Yeah.
And it don't really matter. You're going to win something if you just make a smooth run every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tried to figure out, where I could be, like I said, and running down the road from 4.9 to 5.2 or 3 every time. And where you didn't mess up, you just need to learn to go to speed that you don't mess up. And that's different for each individual.
Right.
We tied with Roy. Me and Ernie had that school down there, and Roy came one time. And I think the year he won, he went with Ernie. And Roy couldn't beat anybody down the road. But he just didn't mess up either, but far as speed. But where Roy was so much tougher than everybody else, he's the first guy that started getting off without sitting back down in the saddle to get away from his horse. And there's a lot of them doing it now, which is hard on horses. But Roy, he just dominated when he came in. There wasn't anything like him.
Explain that to us, Gary, what you just said.
Okay. What Roy done, in my opinion, above anybody else, we rope a calf, pitcher slack, set back down, get off. Roy was up in front of the saddle. When he roped and dragged his back, he's done leaving. And that's how he got down the rope so much quicker than anybody else. And there's a lot of guys doing it today, but like I said, it's really hard on horses because they want to move out on you. But Roy, he had some good horses, but Oak Whit's the one he really won most of his world titles on, and Butch didn't even hardly let him warm him up.
Yeah,
Butch, I know Butch pretty good too, and he's a good guy. But that's one of the great horses, and Roy won lots of money on that horse.
Was Roy
the whole deal?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, was Roy the first guy to hold on to that rope and turn those calves around?
You know, probably more than anybody else was. Yeah, probably was.
First guy I noticed doing it, but
what happened later, about the time Roy came in, they started roping smaller calves where you could turn them around and be fast. And then Troy Pruitt, one, it just dominated at turning them around. Boy, he could turn one around good as anybody. Troy could, and he won the world once, but today you've got to stand them on their feet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's just no way you can jerk them down. If they're really snappy and just bounce up, you can still tie calves in some kind of setting, but you can't be 6.
Right. What ropers out there in Vegas impress you the most, Gary?
Well, there's several. Of course, Riley Webb. He's pretty well dominating like Roy did. He just kind of took over. Shad ropes as good through the years as anybody, and really to me that's his setup. But he just cannot ever have a good final.
No, never has.
Never has had a good final.
Even the year he won it, I think Corey Solomon had to break the barrier to keep him winning the world, to let Shad win it that year.
Yeah. That's exactly right. He just cannot finish, and I don't know why. I don't know why he changed. They said they interviewed him this year, and he said, "Well, if I'd had Riley Webb's calves, we need to swap calves." Well, Riley didn't mess none up.
No, he didn't make a mistake. He didn't make a bauble.
No, that kid, he's just unbelievable for a kid no older than he is, and he's got really good horses, and that makes a lot of difference. But yeah, and Joel Harris really, I hadn't got to watch him rope, and he impressed me out there. He looks good.
Yeah.
He looks like he could sure come on and be good, but Kincaid Henry usually ropes good. He didn't have as good a final, but there's a lot of them young. I was trying to think of that other kid's name that had the calf in 6'9". Or 6'7".
Dylan Hancock.
Yeah, Hancock.
Yeah.
Hancock. And this kid looks like he could sure be tough, But there's always that new bunch coming on.
Yeah.
And this kid that I'm telling you about it, I helped. I hope he has a good year because he can sure tie calves fast as anybody. This Tate Jordan. And he's just going to go and permit this year and then try to go for the rookie the next year is what he's got in mind.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to watch for him.
What I find interesting is, we're talking about all these young gun calf ropers right now. But, in 2023, what the biggest match opener of the year was that everybody wanted to watch? Cody Ole and Brent Lewis out at San Angelo.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like there's any guys like those guys out there right now. They're just that I'd rather watch those two match to this day than any two guys at the finals right now. For some reason, it's just me.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. It's match roping's a little bit different deal. I felt like I wrote match roping's good. I probably, I wrote most world champions or guys that've been to finals several times, and I won 70 or 75% of my match ropings. The ones I didn't win, I usually beat myself. But Roy's probably the only guy that really just beat me 2 different times, and then like I said, he beat me a 10th one time, and I beat him a 10th one, and he beat me 2 or 3 seconds on one. But them's the kind of matches you like, where everybody ropes good. Usually match roping, one guy ropes good, another one don't, and it's not even good watching. But I love to rope those match roping. It takes the right kind of horse to rope those match ropings too. But I could tell if I was in the groove when I started that I was pretty well going to win that thing. And a lot of it's how you get tapped off. I roped Phil Lyon one time, and I beat him at the Windy Ryan roping. But we'd roped at Stephenville, Texas. They had a big jackpot down there, and they wanted me and Phil to rope. I beat him on 11 calves out of 12 and got beat. My last calf, I missed to do 3 times. It's one of them little calves that slow up, and I didn't. I borrowed a horse to rope the match on. But I beat him on 11 calves and still lost that match. So you never know in a match what's going to happen. But Phil roped really well too.
Best match roping I've ever seen, and I highly recommend anybody to go back and find it. I don't know if it's on YouTube or what, but I was there, and it was Roy Cooper and Brent Lewis roping at Roswell, New Mexico with the Bob Crosby. roping, and it was just back and forth, big calves, big arena. It was just, I think it was the last of those kind of matches almost that they roped those kind of calves. I think it was a 12-head match even. And it was just back and forth the whole match, huge calves, and Roy ended up beating Brent that day.
Yeah.
But it was such a good roping. The Bob Crosby roping, it was in the 90s in Roswell, New Mexico. They only had a few years, and Roy and Brent match there. Go back and find it. Anybody listening, you'll be glad you did.
Well, I tell you what, it's fun to watch those close matches like that are good, And Brent roped really well too. He could do it. And of course, Roy, he always pretty well dominated. He come in.
Gary, if you was making a Mount Rushmore calf ropers, who would you put on it? I need 4 names.
Well, you need 4 names.
Yeah.
I'll put Dean Oliver, Roy Cooper, Joe Beaver, Cody O. I've got several. I don't think you need to leave out Toots Mansfield.
I know.
And of course Jim Bob Altice, he just won it once, but he's probably one of the great match ropers. Glenn Franklin probably roped as well as anybody. But them would be my heroes to put up there.
Yeah.
You'd have to sure put Dean and Roy and Joe and Fred and Cody.
I always tell people you put Toots, Roy, and Dean on it, and then you can just argue about the rest, about the last one.
Hey, you're right. I'll tell you what, them guys, they dominated in their era, and there's no way to compare.
No.
In my opinion, they probably couldn't compete with these speedsters today, but they competed in their era, and them kids just went and they couldn't compete with them in their era.
Right.
So there's no way to ever know for sure.
Right.
But Dean and Toots, they was tough on those big calves, and Joe and Fred, they could handle them. Cody, Glenn Franklin, probably one of the best flankers ever was.
Yeah.
And Jim Bob, probably one of the best match ropers ever was.
Yep.
Just need more heads on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I know. Ain't that the truth?
Guys like Toots, they still got their finger in modern rodeo. The saddle tree that he invented for calf roping. Right. They're still using, Toots Manfield saddle trees, whether they're modified or not. And, he still got his mark on calf roping. They're still using the equipment that he designed.
Yep.
He designed. That's the best tree that's ever been made, too. Toots Mansfield tree for calf ropers. But he was quite a guy. I got to meet him. That's what I liked about it. He was. I think the very first year I went to Cheyenne in '69, I think he roped there. And but he was, he had to be old at that time. But
I never saw him rope a calf. I've seen him flag a lot. He got to flagging some roping, steer ropings and stuff later in life. And Cody, he flagged the national finals here at Pawhuska in '63 in the steer.
Oh, really?
Roping. Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
I was going to ask him before we let him get off. We talked about some of the big invitational roping, San Angelo and the Windy Ryan and stuff. He just kind of touched on, he flew up here one time to Clem McSpadden's world's richest roping they have in Bushy Head. What was that calf roping like?
Boy, I tell you, it's one of my favorite ropings. That's one of the best ropings. I won that thing in '78 on this same young horse I won the finals on. I could back to back. I got up there the next year. I think I won it in '77. I could probably won it in '78. Rode this same horse and got up there, and boys dry and mold ropes got limber, and I borrowed a poly off of Junior Garrison. And he always used real stiff ropes, and I said, "You got anything I could borrow?" I said, "My ropes are just so limber, I can't get them to pick up." Well, I roped that calf and run him through it, 2-looped him, and that was my second calf, and I went back to my old ropes I was using, and still wound up winning 4th in average. But that's one of the biggest and best ropings there ever was. But Clem knew what he was doing. They roped big old calves and scored them out there 30 feet or 25. I can't remember what it was, 25 or 30. But I had a lot of luck at that thing. I placed almost first year I did, and I was building my new house here, and I took my horse. I'd soared him up. I roped the day before I went. Tom Ferguson, I think, won it the first year. And but that's one of the best ropings. But I won about all the big ropings. I won Copenhagen Skull, Windy Ride, and San Angelo, and World Richest roping. I was pretty lucky at those big ropings.
I'd say so.
But
I'd say so.
But that last year, I won the average at the finals. I think he paid $7,500. I won third for the year, and then I won Clem's Roping that same year. And but man, I think my last 2 years, the best years I had. I won 38.5 counting ropings in what I won the PRCA, which was a lot of money back then. And then I won like 42.5 in '78, and that's a lot of money. You know, you could do a lot with that back then. Don't sound like very much today when I go around and pays $33,000 in finals, but my last 2 years has really helped me along in my lifetime as far as me getting started in the farming ranching business and stuff.
Well, Gary, we sure appreciate you coming on today. Jimbo, you got anything else for him?
No, just thank him for coming on. I'm glad we finally got together. We talked about it here a year or so ago, and he was busy, and I'm glad we finally got hooked up. This has been one of our better ones, Cody.
Yeah, it has.
Hey, good. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm gonna have to come up there and see you guys one of these days. I'd like to see what y'all got there.
Yeah, come up and see
what all y'all have in the museum. What all y'all have in the museum?
Well, it's called the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, but there was a lot of champions from Osage County. That's where we're at. Okay. And it's mostly Osage County champions and great cowboys from this area, but other stuff too, and of course all kinds of Ben Johnson stuff. You'd enjoy it. Be sure and holler at us when you come up, and I'll give you a tour.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, you'll know about everybody in here. Oh yeah, I remember this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that wild guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You know, I met Ben Johnson. He don't remember it, I'm sure, but I was at the Cow Palace, and I was always in FFA and 4-H F&M all through life, and he was walking down. We was at the Cow Palace, and I was over there walking down looking at cattle, and I walked face to face to him, and man, I tell you what, he's kind of a hero too in westerns. And but anyhow, I just spoke to him. He spoke to me, and that's the closest I ever got to meet him. But he's quite a cowboy, wasn't he?
Yeah, sure was.
He was a hand. That's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and I figure he's the richest cowboy that ever lived. I think when we looked on the internet, he's worth about $500 million when he died.
He's definitely the most successful rodeo cowboy to ever rodeo, for sure. And come from a rodeo family.
You know, he won the world in team roping in '53, and then he set in '49. Before that, he set the arena record at Pendleton in the calf roping that was around for a long time.
Really?
He was a pretty good roper, pretty versatile.
Yeah, he was riding Jimbo's granddad's horse up there when he set the arena record at Pendleton.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's great.
Cody's got the picture here in the museum, and there's another picture out of him roping up there at Pendleton that they say is the one where he set the arena record, but it's not. It's the same year, but I've got the one where he set the arena record, and Cody blew it up. And as far as I know, we're the only ones that's got that picture. So anybody want to see, come see Ben Johnson setting the world record at Pendleton. They need to.
It's close to a life-size picture, too.
Yeah, it's almost life-size. It's really a good picture.
Oh, really?
With all the old cowboys in the background sitting there watching, and stuff. It's a pretty good picture.
Yeah, well, I bet it is. Well, he's quite an actor, too. I enjoyed watching his movies.
Yeah, he said he wasn't that great actor, but he could sure play Ben Johnson good.
That sounds probably like it.
The year he won the world. I'm sorry, Gary.
I said that's all that matters anyhow. If you please yourself.
Yeah.
The year he won the world, we got a video back there. He said, back in '53, I took off from acting and I took all my buddies. We all went out rodeoing. I paid all the entry fees, this and that, and I became the world champion. I got home with a worn out car and $2 to rub together and a mad wife. So he went back to
about right. But he had fun. That's the main
thing. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Gary, I'll holler at you when this comes out, or give you a little heads up when this is going to come out. Probably be next week.
Next Thursday it'll come out. Yeah. Not this Thursday, but next.
Not this Thursday, but next Thursday.
Yep.
Okay. What do we get on to this? Your podcast again?
Yeah, just you can get it on Facebook, YouTube, I don't know
Spotify, Apple, all the places you can get a podcast. Just Google up Cowboys of the Osage.
Yeah, it's called Cowboys of the Osage.
And it'll be the newest episode next week.
Yeah.
Okay. I think my wife, I ain't smart enough to run all that in technology. I still got the old flip phone, but she pulls all that up, and we get to watch quite a bit of what y'all do.
Yeah, and I was telling you, we did one with your old buddy Tudor Waits here a while back. you might want to catch.
Good.
Because he
He's
mentioned
great.
you.
We did Glenn Franklin too. He's
Yeah, we
talked
did
about
Glenn Franklin. He was good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet he was.
Yeah.
That Glenn, he could do it now.
Oh,
He's
man.
good.
He sure could.
But, man, I appreciate what you guys do. I mean, that keeps everything, takes a lot of history back, doesn't it?
Yeah, he sure does. We don't want to forget you guys.
No, well,
Anna
I
just brought a
appreciate
cap
that.
over here, Jimbo. She didn't want me to miss saying we do got these new great looking Cowboys of the Osage caps. They're available on BenJohnsonCowboyMuseum.com. And
Okay.
if you want to buy one, we'll get one right in the mail to everybody that wants one. And
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I'd like to have one. You just ordered them online?
yeah, just send us your address. We'll send you one, Gary.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay,
You
all
want to
right.
buy
Yeah.
it?
Just text
Hey, well,
me or
I
Jimbo your
appreciate it.
address. We'll get
Yeah,
you
just
one.
text me your address sometime. We'll get you one coming your way.
Okay. Hey, that sounds great. Appreciate you guys.
Woo, this has been a good one.
You bet.
Hey, well, thanks. And I've enjoyed doing it.
Thank you, Gary. We've enjoyed having you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Everybody
you
get
later.
over here to the museum. Check out the new gallery we got. We got all kind of great stuff for selling here. Get back in the museum. Check out all the historical artifacts we got. While you're here, don't forget to go check out the Buck and Flamingo Turquoise Shop. Pick you up something nice. Keep you out of trouble at home.
Gary and Cody, we got the best fans on here. Vic Carmen, old rodeo announcer. I think he lives in Arizona now.
Okay.
He made that for me. Put my brand on it. Of course, I'm showing it to the camera.
Well, yeah.
So we're
Thanks
not even on
a
the
lot,
camera.
Vic.
Yeah.
My brand's an X bar. If you could put one together for me, Vic, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. But anyway,
Well, everybody, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
yeah, we'll see you. See you, Gary.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.